Welcome to Web3 Women. I'm really excited to be here with you guys. This is going to be a really impactful Web3 Women. I have my wonderful guest here with me, Wendy. And you guys may know her from the International Women of Blockchain event. We had her come out and talk about DoinGud, which is a social impact company that's actually in this space who are bringing a lot of value to the environment that we live in. And I'm really excited to have Wendy join us. So Wendy,
Yes,
introduce
thank you
yourself,
so
please.
much. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you for your patience in getting us scheduled. You didn't give up on me, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So I've for the past 2 years have been working on a Web3 project called Doing Good, and Doing Good is seeking to change the way that communities take care of themselves. If we sort of scratch the surface of that, it's how do communities and social impact organizations get funded, distribute those funds, and demonstrate impact. Before Doing Good, it was kind of around COVID time. I was with the precursor of Doing Good, which was aiming to be a giant kind of digital help board for people who are struggling with needs during COVID. Back in the day when our governments weren't doing everything we needed them to do, and people couldn't access groceries, they couldn't access medicines, elderly people couldn't get any of the kind of attention that they needed. So we were doing something like that to start with, but having found two of the founders online during the COVID period, what we quickly learned after about 4 or 5 months of building this giant help board was that it didn't do enough for the communities. And it was just before the blow up of NFTs, and Manu Alzuru, who's one of the founders, basically said, I think this may be our thing. This may be the way we can get into a larger, scalable way to cause social impact and allow communities to be autonomous and independent and safe and more connected with each other. But that's only the last 2 years. Prior to that, I've had a bunch of careers on land, working at London Business School in executive education, building leadership development programs for global clients. And I worked in Silicon Valley back in the day during the very first bubble. And also worked with USA Today when it was young-ish. I have a huge love for media and news and the democratization, I guess, of information and of access to stuff. That's kind of been a theme going back.
Awesome. Wow. Wow. I am impressed, by your background. And it seems like a lot of great projects really started because of COVID. And, COVID has this negative connotation, but from a weird perspective, I'm actually having a perspective that it allowed people to tap into something creative, right? And in this case, something good, right? To bridge that gap and really reach the community and assist the community. So I'm glad that you guys shifted. And it's funny because being in the space 4 years before NFT really blew up to the point that it blows up now.
Yeah.
And knowing of, crypto kitties and, crypto punks, the early stages. And, there was a small, tight knit community that loved it.
Yeah.
A lot of people jump into their creativity, and it allowed people to really do something valuable in the world, right? And build into the community, and to have a lot of social, like when these NFT projects started, a lot of them, they just started just to make money. But then the community started saying, okay, what is the value? What are you bringing, And then a lot of them started saying, you know what? Yeah, we need to give back. And so they will allocate like 20% towards, a good cause. And so you started seeing that movement, and it was like it had to be part of your roadmap, right? And so to have Doing Good step into this arena, utilize NFT, utilize
Mm.
the community, and tap into our need, our drive to actually connect with each other on such a social, impactful way. I think it's fantastic, you know?
I think that's such a good way of talking about it. Just there's really two, and maybe you open this up for me in our pre-conversation. COVID enabled COVID enabled doing good. Yes. Um, and it was always Manu and Andrew. We have a bunch of founders: Nicolene, Ludo, Igor, Kyle. Um, there was no. This is what's crazy, right? I come from a deeply intense New York City driven type A, all capitalism all the time. Yeah, if you don't do the job, there's 15 people behind you. That's the noise I came up with, that I came up in. And what was so fascinating is that there was never a moment's doubt that doing good was not going to be a platform for crypto speculation. It was not going to be for really NFT speculators. It was not going to engage, not because we did want the big ticket items. We did want giant numbers, because a huge portion of any NFT sale, as you said at the top of the conversation, a portion of the funds from every single NFT sale is streamed directly and transparently to a social impact organization. So all that happens on chain, and that's kind of that was the initial vibe and the initial product that Doing Good released. It's not that we didn't want tons of money being streamed to nonprofits and being streamed to creators. We did, and we do. But there was never a question of, this particular sale is going to cause issues. Okay, well, if it's going to cause issues that are not consistent with the values and not consistent with until every form of human expression builds a better world, or with the welfare of communities, we're not going to do it. And it's, that used to be that kind of living our values. That was always like such a luxury when I was working. Like, oh yeah, we'll do that as long as it doesn't impact the volume of coal that comes out of the mine every hour of every day. And so being able to live that was and is a luxury. And I do think you're absolutely right. I hadn't thought about it in those terms that you said, but that COVID created some of these pockets of luxury. It took away so much, of course. But in this respect, as you say, it allowed for a connection, Doing Good to create this infrastructure, which is really the direction we're going in the sort of second generation of Doing Good, to create infrastructure that allows anybody to build tighter community connections anywhere in the world, at scale, at speed.
Yeah.
And then if I can indulge for a second, I think the other thing, and this is what you were talking about in our pre-conversation, it actually allowed, I think for me personally, COVID allowed for me personally to pursue something I don't think I ever would have pursued had it not interrupted all of our lives. And that was also a piece of Doing Good, because I thought my identity was and had to be the go-go, all New York City, all the time, Silicon Valley. I thought that's who I was and who I had to continue to be. And there is a freedom there. There's trade-offs to be made, but there's a freedom to being able to say, actually, yeah, I'm doing something that does good, and I'm learning a ton every day doing it, because it's all new.
Yeah, we're all learning.
We're all learning. Exactly.
It's always a constant learning journey. And that's the excitement too, right?
Totally.
About this. Yeah. So tell me, like, of the NFT projects that you guys have been involved in, have had on the platform, which one was the most exciting? or
Yeah.
impactful to you?
So look, this is if we take a step back, Doing Good's actually been on its own journey, as one can imagine. We um, we launched the NFT marketplace. This is the marketplace where each and every sale results in a donation or contribution going to a nonprofit that's registered, authenticated in the Doing Good platform. We released that NFT marketplace basically December 1st in 2021.
Oh,
And we
wow.
kind of ran that. We ran that marketplace, recruiting creators, recruiting nonprofits, authenticating everybody, causing transactions for about 4.5 months. And I think in those 4.5 months, the biggest kind of the biggest sale we had was put on by a group of creators, 6 of them, I think, and I believe there were probably 10 or 11 creations that were put up for sale. And I think this was over a 1 week period. And all of the creators agreed to, it was called the Carbon Drop, and all the creators agreed to create an NFT, but create a creation that had to do with the theme represented by the nonprofit that they were donating to, which is Open Earth Foundation.
Oh.
Open Earth Foundation does some amazing work with open source code and tools and AI in protecting water and I'm going to say tracking carbon, but I may be wrong about the tracking part. There are a bunch of very clever people, and we were very enthusiastic about capturing this campaign, or this drop, we call it, for their benefit. I think the sale for that week for this group of pieces called the Carbon Drop generated a total of about $320,000, and that number may be off. I apologize. I haven't looked it up in a long time. I'm a little more confident about the amount of money it generated for Open Earth Foundation, which was $61,000.
Nice.
It was incredibly exciting, in part because Open Earth does stuff that is very Web3-ish and very very edgy for the climate impact space. But I think what also it taught us is that our guys, our tech and product people, are really good at building Web3 tools. What we chose not to do, it's just not in our DNA or vibe. What we chose not to do was to go out and create a massive user audience. So we didn't go out and spend millions bringing users to the platform. And because we didn't do that, what we found is that creators and nonprofits, it was a little early in the game to ask them to bring their communities, their own users, to doinggood.com. And so the user base probably isn't as vibrant as we needed it to be. And what that meant was that the social impact that we intend to have, the scale of the social impact, just wasn't large enough with the tool that we built. So we kind of paused on improving and making huge changes to the NFT marketplace. It's still operational. There are still sales occurring. We still have new nonprofits and social impact projects joining, not just in the United States, which is where we were for about 8 or 10 months, but now from anywhere in the world where it's legal for Europe and the US to do business. Anywhere in the world, projects can join. They don't have to be legally registered. They just have to fill in an application, which allows me to authenticate. What we decided was that the changes for communities, the benefits to the communities, their ability to connect with each other, to raise money with each other, to make decisions, to make them autonomous and have more agency, and it just wasn't happening fast enough with the NFT marketplace. So after about April, we paused. The founders and engineers went back to the drawing table and said, what can we do to make this thing scale and to really make a difference? Again, it was never going to be a thing where we're gonna have tons of people and crypto whales on the platform buying and selling the hottest. No, that wasn't going to be us. So what we've been building for the last 5.5, 6 months is the next generation of social impact. We call it the impact protocol. And basically what we're doing is taking, for instance, the NFT marketplace and handing it over to any community that wants to use it.
Okay.
So it's not quite private label, but it's basically, you set the parameters for your sales, you bring your own users in, you decide how long you want a sale to go, if you want a sale to stop, if you want it to go for the next year, you use the marketplace any way you want to. So now every community has their own tool for generating funds. Any community that wants to join. And when I say any community, what I mean is this is another part of the impact protocol. Instead of an individual nonprofit saying, okay, I'm going to launch an NFT drop and try to make some money, what we've enabled is for people to come together, people, entities, organizations, anyone, to join together to create, to work on an issue. Because we found as creators some came in and said, I want to support United Way or Save the Children. But a lot of them came in and said, I'm not sure which one I want to support. I mean, I'm not even sure which SDG matters most. What I really think I want to do is make sure that the people of Los Angeles have water, clothes, and a place to live. Oh, okay. So that's a little more issue oriented than it is very specific entity oriented.
Yeah.
So we're allowing any community to come to the platform, create a guild around an issue. And the issue can be a vertical or it can be a horizontal. It could be all homelessness. It could be homelessness in Brooklyn only. It can be women, children, and families, or it could be preschool education only. Creating a guild, and all the tools are there to create a guild, and then use the NFT platform to raise funds. Or DoinGud also allows, in this impact protocol, funds to be contributed directly from a visitor to the site, a donor, a contributor, directly into the wallet of the guild. And then the guild members, community members, then vote on where do we want this money to go.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be to just one nonprofit or project. It can be across as many as the guild wants to represent. And they can do this in cycles, in any cycle they want to. We assume it would happen multiple times a year, that funds would be flowing in from NFT sales. And so then what happens is we start to have some autonomy around who's in our community. We can raise our own funds. We then implement our programs, projects, operations, and then back to DoinGud for the impact tracking. So what that means is, and this is kind of one of the innovations for this impact protocol. Anybody, again, anyone inside the guild or not inside the guild, has the opportunity to provide evidence that impact has occurred. And what that means is taking photos of the houses that were built, or taking photos of the truck that is delivering food to those who are food insecure, or interviewing the families, or even academic researchers who have done research on the basis of the impact. All these little bits and pieces of evidence can then be made into their own NFTs, and they become proof, documentation, measurable, identifiable, trackable, traceable, basically impact reports. So DoinGud will provide the impact reporting tools, and those sort of impact NFTs, if we want to call them that, are then also saleable as yet another source of revenue for this guild.
Wow. That's wow.
What do you think? What do you? I mean,
no, I love
it. Comprehensible.
Yes, I love it. I love the fact that you guys you're incorporating a little DAO inside of it, right? And it's centered around
totally.
Yeah. is centered around social good. And so now, instead of, and this DAO, this mini DAO can
Right, right.
be anyone
That's how
from
we talk about it.
across. It doesn't have to necessarily be within your ecosystem system.
Right.
So now the impact is traceable because there's an NFT that actually derived from that impact. So now,
Ika, you're killing it. This is so good.
so I do have a question. So
Yeah.
does the NFT now get distributed to the individuals that contributed to the guild?
Hello, there is a perfect idea of a way to thank the volunteers, to acknowledge those who participated, including the end users or the beneficiaries. Absolutely, they can. Part of these other tools is that Doing Good will have for this guild, as you call it, it's really a mini DAO, exactly as you said. They'll have their own token. So that's how the voting will get done. The proposal for how do we distribute this particular tranche of funds, here's a proposal, let's vote with the tokens. And I think there's something really interesting to be done. And I don't think we've expressed it fully yet. There's something very interesting to be done with the end users and how they participate in maybe the validation, what we call signaling. Yes, that impact report is accurate, but the end users have a voice. And I think that's one of the things that's most, other than the underlying technology, which is extraordinary, but that end users should and do have a voice in this to say, yes, I accept that that's the impact that occurred. That's the change that either my family went through.
Affirming. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's, I don't know. I've been a bit player in the nonprofit sector my whole career. And I don't know, like, I'm curious, have you seen places where end user voices are,
no,
it's just not a thing?
No, it's not. And that's, it's funny that you mentioned that, because whenever I think about, disasters happening, and the go-to organization is always the Red Cross, right? And there's been this whole, rumors that the Red Cross doesn't necessarily give everything that you provide to the intended recipients. And so now you guys are solving that. You guys are actually taking it one step further and really saying, we're not just going to say, oh, it's been done and that's it.
Yeah,
we're going to actually tap into that end user who's been impacted by your contribution. And that right there, that's the human factor. That's the community aspect of this, right? Which really brings more value to your giving. I love it.
Yeah, I think it we didn't start with this, but we could have. Doing Good was one of the sponsors of ETH Barcelona this summer in July, and I had a panel on how blockchain is changing the social impact sector. And the first thing I presented was 6 pieces of data, which I can show you at some point if it becomes interesting, from the Edelman Trust Report and the Independent Sector Report, both 2022. There was a really interesting stats that basically showed that trust was at 56%. And that was, for one sector, it was down 2 points. For another sector, it was up 3 points, but it was still 56%. That there just is a desperately low level of trust for NGOs. And by the way, other than businesses, sometimes NGOs had the highest trust score amongst media, governments, politicians, bankers.
So they take what they say for face value, right?
Exactly. And that is something to be solved for. That lack of trust is something to be solved for. There's massive amounts of data under there, and you can correct for race and religion, education, and demographics. But the fact of the matter is the numbers are low. And yes, you're exactly right. And I appreciate you bringing it up. The impact protocol is one of the things it corrects for. Another thing it corrects for that I mentioned at the time of the ETH Barcelona conference is that one of the stats that I pulled out was that a BIPOC head of nonprofit was 75% less likely, you know this one, to get a grant allocation.
Yes. Yeah.
And I mean, you know, just saying the words is enough to really disturb your sleep. But this is another thing that, as you know, Web3 can, it won't necessarily unless we continue to make choices, but it can correct for the access and the distribution inequalities and inequities that we've seen across every other system going on. So we have that opportunity. We can screw it up. We really can. We can mess it up by making the wrong choices. You know, technology is value neutral until we get our hands on it.
Yes.
But this is another one of the things that it can correct for. And then the impact documentation or evidence, impact reporting, and then the voice of the end user. It just doesn't feel like it's been part of the system, as you say, bringing it in with some regularity. And I love the phrase, the human component.
It is. It really, I mean, you know, whenever we give, right, the marketing behind giving is fantastic. They show you that human component. They give you the imagery and all that stuff. And so when you finally are, you know, when they're successful at tugging at your heart and you actually give, you know, oftentimes we just forget about it. But it would be nice, and you guys are really onto something, to have that other phase of our social good, our tugging of the heart, and actually contributing and donating and seeing the end results of that. I think that's fantastic.
I think there's some community connection opportunity there, because
Yes.
I think about, you know, I'm in London, and I think about the advertisements we see, which start with, you know, the dog in the corner cowering for the RSPCA, and the sort of pained, and the it's almost to the point where, I mean, everybody gets, you know, COVID fatigue and misery fatigue and fundraising fatigue, and but there's something about not just feeling sorry for, and that will be, as you said, the point at which I give, and there's the picture of the child smiling now with a fresh bear, stuffed bear. But something about learning from that voice coming back to us, that it's not just like, oh, I feel so sorry for you and here's my $10, but like, oh, that's who you are.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that, or I didn't even expect that. I didn't
expect that. Right. And I can learn, and I can now feel that we are connected in some way, because, oh, you too are a mother of twins, or you also had to XYZ. There's an opportunity for me to connect in a way that, you know, I guess that wasn't available before, or maybe, I don't want to say we didn't think of it. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, I just know that's not true. But anyway, we got to stick around, because we have to see what becomes of that part. Yes. I'm really curious.
Yeah, and that's also, you know, going to lead to more money being donated, right? Because you're seeing the end result of your donation, so it incentivizes the donors.
Yeah, you can actually call them donators in our
donators. Okay,
ecosystem. I know.
Donators. Okay. So no, it incentivizes them to continue donating, because they want to see it all the way through, and I think that's fantastic. Wow.
And I think we're going to be including social enterprises in here, and micro businesses. So, and I think the hope and the intention is that this is not only about donations, which are tax deductible for the donator, but this is a way to allow communities to support themselves, to allow families to support themselves, and to create the agency and autonomy that maybe gets us out of part of this cycle.
Yeah. No, and you mentioned it, but I want to talk a little bit about it because I do have a nonprofit as well. And as nonprofits, when you first start, you're not really getting the money. Nobody really
Ooh.
knows you. The money isn't coming to you. But however, these bigger nonprofits that are out there, they get tons and tons of money, and even though there's no accountability, right? They get tons and tons of money.
Because that's what
And
the
so,
system asks for.
exactly.
We can all feed the system, not all, but they can feed the system, and the system says okay. And even the research says that even the people in foundations, the people in philanthropy, and the people in the nonprofits, everyone knows it's
It's
broken.
broken. It's broken. Guys, it's broken, okay?
It's broken.
It only works for those at the top. It does not work for the rest.
No.
That's why, because my concept of nonprofit is to solve a problem, right? You want to solve a problem that really comes at the community, right? But if you have nonprofits that are big, I guess they're broad enough to consistently be running, but then there's some local ones that they want to do some things, and but they either have found loopholes and they're consistently running as well, and there's no real impact, right? So I can see how the younger generation are just not seeing value in that form of nonprofit. So, doing good is really there, right? You guys have come up with a new innovative way of tapping into a whole new demographic of people, whole new community, and also showing them their impact, because people want to be impactful.
They do. Yeah. You want to feel like you're making a difference in the world, and rightfully so. I mean, you and Black Women Blockchain are making a difference. I mean, you and I talked about this. Your comment on the government's proposal for developing digital assets, it was a spectacular piece.
Thank you.
And you have a giant voice there. To provide a comment is a tremendous piece of work, and it is so thoughtful and so thorough. It's a really powerful piece. And the work that the nonprofit does, it's extraordinary. The emphasis on education and the variety of things that you offer, and the people who you serve, and the goals. I love the goals that are the goal that is so clear. It's so clear and you speak in a different language when you establish that goal, and you have it everywhere. You are you're not unique, but you are a very rare group that's prepared to put it on the line and say, this is a goal. This is what we're trying to achieve. This is the impact that we are going to have.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, it's important, right? I want to say wise enough, because I'm older enough to be around to see the different phases of nonprofits, to even be privileged to listen to. There was a 2020 segment that really opened my eyes about nonprofits. It was just like, whoa, okay. It was a 2020 or 60 Minutes. I'm that old. I won't be here trying to debate whether.
Me too. Me too. Oh, I'm curious.
I don't know which one it was, but it did open my eyes that, all of these nonprofits that are out there, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scene. And the money that people are providing doesn't always get to the end user. But here you guys are, once again, right? I want to emphasize that you guys are stepping beyond. You guys are disrupting nonprofits, right? Or at least the way that they operate, and bringing blockchain into that. That's awesome, right?
That's the thing. That's the thing.
I think pathway. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Manu and Andrew and Ludo, our chief technology officer, have imagined a way that doing good can enable. We're just enabling people to do stuff in a better way. It can enable the blockchain to do its thing, to show the movement of funds, to show the movement of digital assets, to show the movement of impact reports, and show the movement of validation of those impact reports, and just allow the blockchain to make it transparent and time, date, GPS, moment stamped, so it can't be faked.
Yeah.
I haven't spoken the words disrupt the nonprofit sector yet until just now. I think, it's kind of like what you said in your report. We're not looking to what did you say? Like, we're not looking to rebuild the financial sector with all the same. No.
Yeah.
It
didn't work back then.
It's not going to work now. No, exactly. So it's almost an idealized. It's not going to be perfect. It's so bumpy. The Web3 road is so bumpy, but I really dig the fact that it can be just about trustless.
Mm-hmm.
It can be just about trustless because it's decentralized, because it is dependent on the community to want to do it.
Yes.
That it is basically a trustless environment to market, get attention, awareness and recognition, raise funds, make choices about access and distribution of those funds, use of the funds, tracking the impact of the funds, and the veracity, the authenticity is a better word, it's more accurate, the authenticity of those impact reports. All with, our focus is on impact. Our focus is not on operations. And I think that's one of the things that's very confusing about the younger for the younger generations, because really nonprofits shouldn't want to exist, right?
Yeah.
We should want those communities or the planet, whoever our end users are, we want them served and independent and unneedful and bolstered by those they choose to be with. We shouldn't need the sector. I mean, we do.
That is the important word right there. We should not need them, but we do, and since we do, we should, provide as much resources to them to do what they need to do so that we won't need them.
I think that's right. That's right. There's something big here. It may take weeks, months, or years to bring to fruition, but in my many years of working and being alive, I can see stuff for the first time having the possibility of coming true, and not simply by the will of individuals, of extraordinary charismatic leaders. No, by lots of people anywhere in the world accessing tools and doing their own thing. We're not dependent on charismatic individuals or crypto whales or generous billionaires. It's the communities picking up the tools and saying, I don't exactly know this is going to work, but we might as well get started.
Yep. Oh, wow. Oh, man, I am loving this discussion. I think it's definitely a great discussion. I love everything about Doing Good. I love the name Doing Good. I mean, it's literally out there.
There's no ambiguity.
No way. And I don't know for anyone else, but it does make me feel good just hearing that name is out there and people know the intent and if you've known Doing Good, the impact that they've had in several of the communities within the space, as well as artists, right? Because artists were really excited, to put their work up and know that it's for an intended purpose.
Yeah,
it's been fantastic.
It really does. It's been an amazing place, an amazing set of conversations to have with creators who are looking for, I don't want to say a safe harbor, but I'm just going to say safe harbor because you've given me so much time and of your energy. A safe harbor, a place where they don't have to feel like, I don't want to be memed to within an inch of my life, and I don't want to be disappointed that a crypto whale didn't find me and choose me. It's
Yeah.
just a reasonable place
Mhm.
to share creations and NFTs, and also to share an intention to do good. Because what we found, of course, is that creators lead the way, in the culture conversation, either reflect who we are or tell
Yeah.
us who we need to be or what we
Yes.
don't want to be. Creative people, and this is, a chance for democratization, for the access to wealth and independence, and the ability to focus on doing what they do best, which is help us understand ourselves.
Mm.
um, the one thing we haven't talked about, and I haven't mentioned, is the Web3 environment
Mm.
allows for, and having worked for a very long time in the normal world, I can say that the Web3 environment is
Mm.
uniquely collaborative. And DoinGud has had some amazing opportunities to build to build partnering with extraordinary organizations that are also doing amazing things, like Giveth and Gitcoin and Polygon and um, oh gosh, Ethereum Foundation and Bankless and um, oh gosh, just tons. I mean, tons, dozens of organizations. Not even movements is probably a better term. DAOs and movements. The opportunity to collaborate in this space is just extraordinary, and that's part of what makes it change so quickly, I think, is when you bring two movements or DAOs or entities together, something happens. And it's like molecules moving and bumping into each other and creating something every time there's a bump. So we've had some, and have some, fantastic partnering opportunities with incredibly creative and ambitious and do-gooding people. Like creating public goods is DoinGud, is creating public goods that's available for everybody and that doesn't exclude anybody. And as with public goods, they don't decrease in availability or size or scale when someone uses it.
Mm.
So that's been another really special piece, is being able to come together with other entities, organizations, DAOs, movements, and just seeing the openness and the creativity and the ambition and the speed at which they are willing to and want to collaborate.
You may have any tips. It's tip time. We're gonna skip
Oh,
hot
good. My
as you
favorite
got,
part.
because Wendy, you gave us some great things to think about when it comes to doing good and your new initiative that you guys are moving towards. So I'm really excited about that. But we're going to go right into tips. Now, I know you have some wonderful tips to provide either to an individual or to projects, maybe even to people who are interested in utilizing your platform
Ooh.
and finding value in that. So go ahead, Wendy. What are your
Oh
tips?
my gosh, you're so kind. I love the way you do what you do. Okay. Maybe for entities first, for organizations, for social impact projects, for climate impact projects, for social enterprises, even for individuals who have small scale projects that they're just doing and haven't chosen to legally register and take on all that stuff. Pretty much anywhere in the world, there are going to be two ways to engage with DoinGud. Right now, there's one way to engage, and that is to just simply apply to join the DoinGud Social Impact Organization Registry, Social Impact Registry. It's an application. It's pretty simple. It kind of just asks for authentication information. And then the NFT platform is there to be used. So you can bring, what we learned is everybody has creators in their ecosystem. Everybody has creators in their family, whether it's spoken word, performance, music, art, digital assets. Everybody's got creators, and there's a wonderful opportunity to give creators something to focus on when they focus on your organization's purpose, your social impact, your cause, the thing you're passionate about. So the NFT platform is there to be used. In a couple of weeks, the second way that these entities, movements, DAOs, social climate impact entities can use DoinGud is to join and create, as we talked about earlier, a guild. And create a guild and then use all the social impact tools, each part of this kind of value chain, to their heart's content. That's for the entities. And I'm willing to have, I mean, you know, this is such a new space. I'm willing to have conversations either in groups or individually, really with anyone, or Telegram conversations, whatever it is, to help sort of move the ball forward in whatever ways people want to ask questions or learn or teach me something. That's cool. I have a lot to learn. From an individual perspective, I mean, you sort of did hint at how do we get into this space? And I mean, if I were going to be like super transparent, the way I got into this space was by volunteering for something like 4 to 6 projects during the early phase of COVID. Because I was just so unsure of myself and how I would fit in. That was kind of the way that I found out which of my skills, abilities, attitudes, beliefs were useful to other organizations, useful to other people, I should say, not organizations, but useful to other people. And I think that's one of the things that I've been coaching other people on, and that's about just do the work for other people. Do the work for the projects that you might like. And when I say do the work, what I mean is make it easy for your listener or reader to understand what matters to you and how you can contribute. And if someone can do that in sort of 3 bullet points and say, look, here's why I love what you do, and here's how I think I can help in terms of the other, that allows the other to sort of say an easy, oh yeah, we actually do need that kind of help. Can you do that? Because we don't have anybody who can do that. So I think that's one of the things. And even before that, I think one of the things I've learned from people I've met in the past 2 years, one of the things we often don't do, particularly female professionals, is basically go to the network and ask.
That's true. We don't do it. But no, that's fantastic. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't want to interrupt.
No, I appreciate it. I love your perspective, because of course we come from really different places, and that we, yeah. So that's the thing. Just go to the network and ask. You're not going to the network and asking for a job. You're going to the network and asking for a conversation. And you sort of practice the 3 bullet points of here's how I can help, or you ask, am I using the right language when I say here's how I can help? Or do you believe that I can help in these 3 ways? Am I making sense? Or tell me about the biggest things you're trying to achieve right now. I'm really curious about your business or your entity or your project or your whatever. We all love to talk about ourselves, case in point. And if we can understand better what other people need, first of all, it feels really good. It feels really good to make someone feel good, and it's the best way to also understand how I maybe can be useful. So I think the network. If you play sports, then you're accustomed to talking to the network. But if you did play sports growing up, it's like an effort. It's an effort, but it needs to be done.
You're 100% right about that. The network. Okay. If you guys didn't walk away with any valuable tips, make sure you tap into the network, as Wendy mentioned, because that's your network is your net worth. It's how you transition to the next phase, honestly. And in this space, more than anything, like we're all finding that out, right? That it's really about your network. The people that you know, it's not about you having the best skill set. It's not, it's just those who are around you, those who you could reach. And, asking, just simply, I love that.
Simply asking. There's some, I worked at London Business School for a long time, and there's a wonderful professor there who used to say things like, build your network before you need it. And this makes it a little easier, maybe because I grew up in the day when women were supposed to make sure that they were giving more than they were getting. But for instance, if you had told me 10 years ago, or maybe 20 years ago, go out and ask your network, I would say, I can't possibly do that. I haven't done anything for them. And what if they don't want to talk to me? And so there is something about the network, build it before you need it, and also give first. Give first and give actively, right? So I don't have to wait for you to come to me and say, Wendy, I need something. Can I have it from you? To which my answer would be yes, but go out and give. And if you give to the network, then one feels much more comfortable than saying, I need something back, even if it's not from the same people. It's just a way to get yourself into the conversations that everyone's having. They're having them. They want to welcome you. They want to take, they want to give. Just 2-3 steps. I usually give my friends and colleagues mini KPIs, like by next week, reach out to 3 people in LinkedIn and offer them some help.
That's good. Those are some sound advice right there. Some wonderful advice. Do you have any more? Do you have one more?
Really?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. More. So take action before you're ready. Don't wait until the CV, as we say here in Britain. Don't wait until your resume is perfect. Give it to a friend to read, so it's good enough. Good enough. And then, the LinkedIn KPI, that's for real. Like, I do that with and for friends all the time. And it's basically simple as, I've been doing XYZ. I know that your business is ABC. I'd love to hear a bit about what are the big 3 things you're going to try to achieve in 2023, or what are the biggest things that are in the way of you achieving the goals for 2023, or what is the one area of growth that's kind of surprising you, or just hit them up with one question and just to open a conversation. Really, I think however the conversation gets open, even if it's, awkward or imperfect or clumsy, it doesn't matter. As long as the intention is, I want to learn something about you, and if you need anything, like, you can ask me. The intention matters.
Yeah. No, I love the fact that you brought LinkedIn in, because ever since LinkedIn was created, a lot of people have ignored it. It's only been a handful of professionals who actually utilize LinkedIn for what it is, but the younger generation, they stayed away from it. But however, lately I'm starting to see people who I know in Web3 create LinkedIn.
Totally.
And they're connecting with me. I'm like, about time.
I knew if I waited here long enough, they'd show up.
Exactly. No, but I'm loving it, because now they're realizing, okay, LinkedIn is valuable. People are creating network, and there are Web3 companies on LinkedIn, as well as, those employees too. They're here, and I'm happy that they're starting to create presence for themselves on LinkedIn. And I encourage people to listen to you who talked about LinkedIn. So yeah, take that advice seriously.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I kind of just want to echo what you're saying. They certainly started on Twitter, and they would have had to retrofit to LinkedIn, but it does have a few things that, for instance, Medium or Mirror or Discord or Discourse can't deliver. And some of that is the format of the posts, and the other is the reach into a network. Yes. And I think one of the truths about Web3 is that widespread adoption is not We got to talk to those who are not here in
And
order
there's a
to have
lot.
them adopt. There's
There's
a
a
lot.
lot. There's a
A
lot.
lot.
Oh my God. And
Yeah.
y'all, believe me, please, seriously, jump into LinkedIn. Because right now, Wendy, I saw within a year time span where there was crickets relating to even blockchain. People were not putting blockchain
So
in
true. Oh,
their
it's so true.
profile,
It's so true.
okay?
No,
Web3, what is that, right? It was non-existent.
it's
But all
not
of a
on
sudden,
LinkedIn. Yeah.
everybody, is claiming to be in this space. And I'm just like, I don't recognize you. I don't know you. I don't trust that you're here. But anyways, but however, those of you who are here, who actually are building, you should be on LinkedIn. But they're not paying me. They should pay me, but they're not paying me.
They should pay you. It's exactly right. That's exactly right. It's, you know what, if, at least for the near term, it's still a reasonable place
Yeah.
to do one's networking. 3 contacts a week. How hard could that be?
Wendy, I really appreciate you coming here and talking about doing good. Now, can you please give the website, as well as if people want to tap into you and continue following you and maybe even connect with you on LinkedIn? How can they
Absolutely.
reach out to
Yeah.
you?
Thank you so much for offering that. So the website is www.doinggud, and that's spelt in an interesting way, DoingGud.com. Doing Good. And I am on LinkedIn, Wendy Fayer, and across Twitter, Discord, Instagram, I am Wendy Yano Fayer. But if one looks up Wendy Fayer, there aren't very many of us floating around. And yes, I would be honored to connect with anybody in your community who wants to talk about pretty much anything. It would be a real privilege. I have so much appreciation for you and the work that you do and your generosity as a collaborator. It's really been, every moment we have communicated has been a true pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. I want y'all to subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you connect with Wendy and tap into all the great things that she's doing in this space, all the things that Doing Good is doing, and the new iteration of Doing Good that's about to be released. I'm really excited about this one. Yay! It's the mini DAO. Yay! I want y'all to tap into it. Make sure you join us next time. Thank you, everyone. Want to bid you adieu. Bye, everyone. Have a good
Bye.
one. Bye.